Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming out and spending the afternoon with me and listening to my presentation. Right? It's dinner time, right? Class is over, but you guys are still here, willing to listen. So thank you for your time. Before we get started, can I get a show of hands, like who's an engineering major here or who's studying engineering? And hands if you're not decided yet or thinking about engineering, you got some non-engineering majors also, so that's a good thing, right? So if you're a non-engineering major, this is your first engineering class, welcome to Engineering Bureau. But if you're an engineering major, this will be a 45-minute course for you, so hopefully you enjoy it. Let's see. So before we get started, how's the course going to run, right? So course is, first I'm going to talk about who am I as an engineer, what is my immigrant story, and then college years, right? And then life after college, and then what do I do now? So that's kind of the overview of this presentation. Okay, so who am I as an engineer? Again, first of all, my name is John Paulino. Currently, I'm an Infotainment Validation Engineer at Volkswagen Group of America. So they have a small research center out there in Belmont. It's by the big Oracle building. So I just started working there in July after relocating back to the Bay Area. So I'll explain what an Infotainment Validation Engineer does in a bit here. Then, like Grant said, I'm a 10 out of products. Right? I attended all three community colleges, actually. I bounced around CSM, Skyline College, so I'm a Bay Area native. Right? I went to all three community colleges from 2009 to 2012. And then in 2012, I transferred to UC Berkeley. In 2014, I finished my Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. And after graduation, I moved to Michigan to work for General Motors, right? GM. So it's the company that builds the Chevys, the Cadillacs, the Buick, and I'm missing one more. GMC, there we go. And then so yeah, I worked at GM from 2014 to 2019, and during that time I was also working on my master's in automotive engineering at University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. So I just completed that degree in 2018. And now it's 2019, I decided, hey, I have family here, I have friends here. It's time to go back to the Bay Area. So now I'm here. So first of all, the immigrant story, right? So I was born and raised in the Philippines in the 90s, right? I'm not gonna say which year, but it was in the 90s. You guys have to get my age. Then, so my family moved to the U.S. in 2004, 15 years ago, right? And we had humble beginnings. We weren't rich. We didn't really have a lot of money in the Philippines, right? We just came to the U.S. with just our bags of clothes, some family pictures, and ourselves, right? So we had humble beginnings. And then in 2009, we became U.S. citizens. And that was my immigrant story. So from the Philippines all the way to California. Then, as a kid, I grew up here in the Bay Area, near San Mateo area. I attended Bayside Middle School. It's a different, they have a different name now. I think it's called Bayside STEM Academy now. But during, when I was growing up, it was called Bayside Middle School here. And I also went to Aragon High School in San Mateo. So I did well academically. I was pretty strong academically. I wasn't, the smartest kid in the class. I wasn't a genius. I wasn't a valedictorian, right? I wasn't the smartest kid, but I did well in school. I wasn't failing, but I wasn't the best either. So I was average, right? Not the best, not the worst. Kind of in the middle. I had different passions growing up and different hobbies, right? So, and I wasn't sure what to do after high school. So when I was in high school, I was interested in drawing and sketching, right? So I even thought about doing something in art, being an art major. I also like astronomy, planets, right? Black holes, that was an interest of mine. around me growing up. That was also pretty, I didn't really like math, but I was good at math, and I understood math concepts, so I even thought about, hey, maybe I can do something in architecture, right? To combine my artistic skills with drawing and, my being good at math, maybe I can combine those two and do something in architecture. Also like sports, but obviously I didn't grow to be a 6-footer, right? I'm not a 6-footer, right? So I didn't, that was crossed out. Being a basketball player was crossed out. But yeah, I really like sports, especially during the time when, like the Warriors were good, the Celtics were good, Lakers were good. So we were all basketball crazy back in high school. I like that too. And this one, I had this hammer here. Because I also liked to argue when I was young, like arguing formally, right? Meaning debating, right? So I even thought about maybe I should become a lawyer or something. I like to debate with people, argue with people. So I thought about doing law. So this was all happening in high school. And up until my senior year, I didn't know what to do. So I had no idea what major to pick even up until high school. There were so many interests, right? And what I can share from that experience from being an immigrant, my immigrant story is first, be proud of who you are and be proud of your background and your heritage, right? Because we're all different. We all have different skills, right? Different strengths and weaknesses. So use that to your advantage. Don't ever think of it as a disadvantage, right? We all come from different backgrounds, and you should use that as your stepping stones, right? Those should be your foundation, and you should be proud of your background. Next thing I can share from that experience is keep your friends close, right, and your family closer. Coming from an immigrant family, right? Family is huge for us, right? Especially coming to the U.S., we didn't really speak fluent English, right? We didn't know anybody here, so coming here, it's like, who do you have? It's your family. So growing up, I was very close to my family, and friends can come and go, right? They can come and go. And it's okay to have lifetime friends, but it's also good to have a very close relationship with your family. And then the third lesson I can share here is grab the opportunity given. Like I said, our family was given the opportunity to come to this country, right? And especially now, it's getting tougher and tougher to come to the U.S., right? Not everyone is given the chance to come to this country, grab a seat there, right? We're all sitting here. That means we're all given the opportunity, right? So let's all take advantage of that opportunity, because there's another guy in the Philippines, or another guy from India, or another kid from Mexico, right? They're all working hard, right? But they're just not given the opportunity to come to this country. So for us, we're already here. Like, you guys are sitting here, so you might as well take advantage of that, right? Because there's other people that want to be in those seats. Okay, next one here. College years. Okay, so this is Canada time, right? So like I said, I attended CSM in 2009. A lot of my friends from high school, they ended up going to really good schools. Some went directly to UC Berkeley, some went to Stanford, somewhere in New York, right? But me, a bunch of other people, we say, hey, we're gonna stay here. This is our home, right? The Bay Area is our home, and coming to a community college is a smart move, right? One is you get to save money. Two, you get to stay close with family, right? So this is important. And in 2011, that's when I started attending classes at Canada. So I met a really nice professor. I'm not sure if you guys know him, but Dr. Amelita Enriquez, right? He was like the perfect professor, right, for me. He's the one who encouraged me to, hey, John, you should pursue something in engineering, right? You should go after this scholarship. You should go after this internship, right? So even now we're friends. Even now, like, he sent me a text message this morning. He said, "Hey, John, good luck on your presentation. I'm sure I'm going to watch you on YouTube." So, Dr. E, if you're watching, shout out to you. But yeah, so he's my inspiration. I think I think in our academic or professional career, I think it's always important to have that mentor, right? Someone to kind of guide you and help you through your path. I'm not saying you can't do it on your own, right? But it's good to have that figure that can help you through the way, right? And that's the role that Dr. Lee played in my career. So I attended Cañada CSM Skyline from 2009 to 2012. That's when I transferred to UC Berkeley. And then throughout the time, right, I did some research at UC Berkeley. I did some internships there, and then eventually in 2014, thank God, I completed my degree in mechanical engineering. It wasn't easy. Like there were some, a lot of sleepless nights at UC Berkeley, but that's for any school actually, right? Even here, right? Even at Skyline College, we all go through we all go through those times. But hey, I feel like sleeping now, but I gotta finish this homework. I gotta finish that project, right? So we all go through that, right? And I know if you guys are here, you guys are basically have plans to transfer to a 4-year university. So, be prepared for that. That's just reality. But once you get through it, I think you can get through anything. So, what I can share from the experience, point number 5, right, continuing from the previous points, community college is a smart investment in yourself, right? Just you guys being here, you guys are already making the right step. So it's, so I admire you guys for taking this step, even being here and listening to a guy you've never even heard of, right? So it's a good step. Thank you for your time, and it's a smart investment. One, because what I always tell people why community college is smart is like the first couple lessons, first couple courses that you guys take in university is the same course that you guys take here, right? It's actually better here sometimes because the classes are smaller. Meaning, like, you guys get more attention from your professors. Like, let's say I'm a community college student, I take a physics class here, right? It's a class of 15, 20 people, right? But if I take the same class at a 4-year university, right, I could be sitting with, in a class of 100 people, 80 people, right? So you don't get the same attention, you don't get the same quality of, you do get quality education, but you don't get that attention, right? Because you're competing with those other students for your professor's attention, right? So here, like, I have trouble with a problem or an assignment. I can just go to office hours and seek help, right, with my professor. So I feel like here you get the same education, right? Because physics is physics, right? 1 + 1 is 2 anyway, right? Doesn't matter where you take it, right? It's still the same lesson, right? It's just a different environment. So don't ever feel like, oh, that guy went straight to university, I'm going to community college. Like, don't ever feel disadvantaged or don't ever feel inferior, right? It's the same concept, right? Math, calculus, physics, right? This is all the same concepts. So community college is smart. You guys are smart for being here. And number 6, apply. I said it 3 times just to put emphasis on it. So I don't know if Kathy is still around here, but Kathy Light was she was like the scholarship coordinator during my time. And she was always pushing us, hey, John, there's a scholarship here, there's an NSF there. Like, you think, oh, why is she nagging me all the time? Like, why should I even apply? But it's actually, she's really good at it though. Because these scholarships, right, you may not hit the jackpot, you may not hit the $20,000 scholarship, you may not hit the $10,000 scholarship, but if you get like the $1,000 scholarship, the $500 scholarship, the $1,000 internship, right? If you put all those together, you could pay off college. That's how I paid off my education. Like I said, I wasn't the brightest student. I wasn't like the $20,000 scholar, right? But I did follow Kathy's advice. I did apply to several internships. We got them, right? I got the $1,000. I got the $500. Put them all together, right? So that's how I paid off college, is through those small internships. So don't throw it in the spam, like those internships or scholarships applications. put them in the spam folder. Take advantage of that. Number 7 here, expand your network. Don't burn bridges. Like I said, I'm still in contact with Dr. E. I'm still in contact with my old professors, my buddies from college, my buddies from high school. So you need that structure. You need that social structure to kind of guide you through your way, right? Because at some point, you may need their help, right? Let's say I'm looking for a job at Apple. I know somebody at Apple. I can reach out to that person, right? So make friends. Don't make enemies. Make friends. Don't ever feel like, oh, I gotta compete with that guy. I gotta beat that guy, right? But think about it more like how should I work with this guy, right? Because you might need their help at some point. So it doesn't matter who they are, right? Just try to be nice to everybody, because at some point you might run into them again, right? Build your resume. Create a LinkedIn. Right? This is important. Notice I use the word build here, right? Build your resume. It's not create your resume. People create resumes, meaning like, oh, I just thought about it. Let me go on my computer, put together a resume right now. But when I say build your resume, meaning like actually take time to develop it. Like, think about it and see what you actually put in there, because a good resume is just one page, right? If you have a resume, let's say an employer sees a resume that has 2 or 3 pages, they might even not look at it, right? Because a good resume is very precise. It's only 1 page, and it says everything about you, right? So if I'm a recruiter, I see your resume and I see that it's not polished, right? You kind of lose out on the opportunity. So I'm saying, you guys are studying right now, just build it right now. Like whatever you learn, let's say you learned a new class, like you learned calculus, put it on your resume. You learned a new programming language, C++, put it on your resume, right? You did an internship, put it on your resume. But build it over time. Don't just say, oh, I need to apply for that job. Let me go build one right now in 10 minutes, right? Because more than likely, it's not going to be polished, and you lose out on the opportunity. LinkedIn. I know I'm not promoting LinkedIn. I don't work for LinkedIn, but that's how I got my current job, is through LinkedIn. So if anybody's looking for a job or an internship, like there's recruiters out there in LinkedIn. I think there's other websites that you guys can use, but it's good to have a LinkedIn, because it's kind of like your professional Facebook. It's your professional Instagram, right? So everything that you do professionally, people go on LinkedIn and they see, oh, is this guy a good candidate, right? So build a LinkedIn. So I'm going to share my LinkedIn later on, so you guys can get a good example. Sorry, I know it's more lessons, right? I told you it's a class, right? So it's supposed to be tedious. Okay. Take a course outside your major or university. I'm an engineering major since I started freshman year, but I also took astronomy classes, right? I also took music. I also took speech, right? So now look, 6 years later, I'm using the things I learned from speech class, and I took it in Building 5. The speech class was offered in Building 5, and I remember taking my speech classes there. So now, 5, 6 years later, I'm here speaking in front of a group of people, right? So it's important that you guys diversify your knowledge, right? Because you don't want to be just known as John the engineer. You're a person, right? So don't be just John the engineer, right? Be more. Go to career fairs. When you transfer to university, like every once in a while, colleges will have career fairs, meaning all the big companies will go there, right? And then get your resume. So it's all connected, right? Build your resume, build your LinkedIn. Now you go to a career fair. So this one, my first job was at GM. I got it through a career fair. So I wasn't even planning on working for GM. I didn't even know what GM was, right? I mean, no one knows here what GM is. Like, people know Chevy, people know Buick, Cadillac, right? But no one knows GM. Like, no one buys a GM car, right? So me, I'm like, oh, this is just another company. Here's my resume. Right? But then, a year later, I got a job at GM. So you never know what can happen. So go to career fairs. If they happen here at Kenyatta, take advantage of it. Next one, find school-life balance, right? Like I mentioned, you're human first, student second, right? We all have different needs, we all have different desires, right? So make sure like you take care of yourself before, don't burn yourself out studying, right? So take the time to relax, to have fun, right? Give yourself some free time, play, go out there and play, right? Don't just study, right? 'Cause then you're gonna burn yourself out. Man, do I have more? Okay, know what you do and what you don't like. So this one was a big one for me in university. Like I mentioned, I did some research at UC Berkeley. It was about energy harvesting devices, like ocean energy harvesting device, meaning you have like a float or a buoy. It goes in the ocean and then it bobbs up and down, right? And then from that, you can harvest energy from the ocean, right? So I did a research on that, but it was cool, but then I found out research is not for me, right? I can't do research. Like, it just wasn't for me. But it's a good thing that I learned that, right? So after one semester, I left because I said, research is not for me. Writing academic papers is probably not for me. So it's good that you know what you want, and you also know what you don't want, right? Because you don't want to be stuck in a major or stuck in a path that you don't want, right? Because then it might be something that you do for years. So you don't want to be like here. A lot of you raise your hands like I'm an engineering major, right? But that's good. It's good that you know what you want, but make sure it's really what your heart tells you, right? So you don't want to be stuck in it for years and then find out, oh, I was actually somebody else, right? So right now, you guys are young. You guys need to figure out what your desires are, what you guys don't like. So figure that out now. Learn from mistakes and avoid repeating. That's something that applies for everyone, right? Not just in college, but life in general, right? So it's okay to make mistakes. I made mistakes at work. I made mistakes in college. I made mistakes here. I make mistakes all the time, but I think it's important that we learn from our mistakes and not to do them again, right? Or learn from them and see how can I make myself better. All right, life after college. So like I mentioned, I began working for GM in 2014. Let me just do a time check here. All right, began working for GM in 2014. I moved from California to Michigan, right? They call Michigan the glove or the mitten, because it looks like the glove, right? And at GM, I had 3 different assignments because they had a rotation program at GM. First one was Safety CAE Engineer. I'll explain what that means. Next one was Infotainment Validation Engineer. My last position there before I left was Lead System Validation Engineer. So during that time, I also attended University of Michigan for my master's in Automotive and Manufacturing Engineering. Here it looks like it took me longer from 2015 to 2018 because I was working full time and I was studying part time. So I was taking one course per semester, right, and working the 8 to 5, right. So that's why it took me longer. But if you just focus on, if you do it full time, you can probably finish it in a year and a half or 2. So let me just see. Hopefully this plays. So Safety CAE Engineer. I can go on YouTube also. I guess while we're loading this one, right? Safety CAE Engineer. CAE stands for Computer Aided Engineering. right? All that really means is I'm an engineer who uses simulations, right, to do my engineering work, right? So there could be, there's various CAE engineers, right? There's a safety CAE engineer, there's a fluid dynamics CAE engineer, there's fluid dynamics, there's aerodynamics, there's thermal CAE engineer, and thermal CAE engineer. So there's all these kinds of CAE engineers, and their main job is to run simulations, right? And that's how they do their analysis. Right? So CAE, I guess once you complete your first 2 years of courses, right? You go to university, like during your 3rd year, 4th year. I think it's one of the classes that you guys can take is it's called finite element analysis, or FEA. All right, it sounds very complicated, FEA, but all that is you take one element, right? It's finite, meaning it has finite dimensions, right? You can define it. You can define its dimensions, and then you have this element, and then you can apply forces, you can apply stresses, right? Then you put. So imagine you have one really tiny element, right? And then I can study that, like through physics, through statics, through dynamics, right? Like I can know how this one small element can behave. But imagine I have this cube, this small cube. Imagine if I have a lot of them, right? Or just think about it like as a ball, right? Imagine you have a small ball, right? Then imagine you have several balls, right? Several small balls, right? You know those kiddie pools with the small plastic balls, right? So imagine you have a pool of those balls, right? And doesn't it mimic like the water flowing, right? So that's kind of how you use FEA. Like you take one small element, right? And then you make a bunch of them, right? You make a bunch of them. You put them all together, right? Then it kind of mimics more of a fluid property, right? So same thing with thermal CAE. You take one small element, like you can apply thermodynamics, right? I know how to do it on one element. Now let's just add more elements and see how heat flows through the object, right? So over here, see, if you zoom into these vehicles, if you zoom in very close, you'll see very small, tiny elements, right? And they could be a triangle, they could be a square, right? And they're called elements, right? They're finite elements. One car can have like 100,000 elements, or the bigger models now can have 1 million elements, right? So imagine you take this one element, like even now, like even in our undergrad courses, we know how physics will work with this one property, right? With this one element. But now imagine making 1 million of them, right? And shape them into a car, right? Then you apply the laws of physics, right? Or laws of thermodynamics. And that's how you see, oh, okay, that's how a vehicle can react if you have a collision, right? So hopefully this plays now. It's not very long, it's like 30 seconds. Can I close it and then? Yeah. Okay, probably froze. Maybe that video is too big. I can just, I copied the link on Zoom, so even just to show them real quick, it's going to take long. Any questions so far while we're away? Any questions about FEA? Oh, thank you. Sorry guys. Technical difficulties. Well, I guess while we're...
I have a question.
Sure.
It says this was part of a rotation program. Were they eventually going to place you into one specific program after you?
Yeah, so, I mean, every company does it differently, right? At GM, while I was doing it, the program was going through changes also. So when I was doing it, they said, you have an assignment for 1 year, right? In previous years, they said it was 2 years in that assignment before they move you. And then I think currently GM is doing, at a shortest, you can do 6 months of rotation. So I can be in this Safety CAE Engineer position for 6 months, right? And then it's more of a glorified internship if you think about it, but you get to learn the job. So here, I did this job for 1.5 years, right? So I actually got to work on the Corvette that was announced in July. So the one with the mid-engine, right? Mid-engine Corvette. I got to work on that. I was the side crash guy. So at GM, we had a front collision guy, we had a side collision guy, and we had a rear collision guy. So I was the side impact guy. So people would ask me, what do you do at GM? I said, I crash Corvettes for a living. Because literally what I was doing is I was crashing 100,000 Corvettes for a living. Right? But it's all through simulations, right? I didn't really destroy Corvettes. But we did have, so in addition to Safety CAE, it goes hand in hand with actual testing, like physical testing. So we did crash real vehicles. We did crash a Corvette, right? So we did crash real Corvettes, and the goal is, does your simulation result match with the physical result? So that's your job. Like if they match, if my prediction is right, that means I have a good model, right? It's probably not me. I mean, maybe we just have a really good finite element model, right? So again, so this one, these are not Corvettes. There we go. And this is the exact program that I used at GM. It's called Animator 4. Right. So you notice like they're different colors, right? That's to help you distinguish which are the which part is what. And sometimes we do this in real vehicles too. Is you notice if they're gonna crash vehicles, they actually paint the parts different. Even the ones next to each other, they paint them different. Why? Because when they crash, right, parts fly away, right? If they fly away, and my job is to inspect what happened during the crash. I need to know which part went where, right? Oh, okay, so this part went there. This part is still intact. So this one kind of helps you with that too, the different colors, right? So, yeah. So this was my job at GM for 1.5 years. Because I did crash safety. It looks intimidating. And see, notice he highlighted all those elements, right? If you zoom into those, like those are small triangular elements, right? And they're all disconnected, and when connected, they make up this whole vehicle. So FEA is fun, but I had to do a different rotation assignment. I actually jumped. I jumped to a very different position. So I went from basically a mechanical engineering job, right, to more of an electrical engineering job. So this is Infotainment Validation Engineer. So what is infotainment? Infotainment is it's basically what you see in front of the car, right? The navigation, the media, the phone, right? The GPS, right? The steering wheel, the instrument panel cluster. So that's the infotainment side. And then validation, meaning I validated the software, I validated the hardware, you validate the whole system, right? And what is validation? Validation is you have requirements set by the designers, right? And it's my job to make sure that our system is actually meeting the requirements, right? They're meeting the specs, and we call them specs. What else did I want to say? So in the last few years, right, in the automotive industry, like maybe in the 90s and earlier, people considered the automotive as a mechanical engineer's job, right? Not so much anymore, right? Today, GM, other automotive companies, Tesla, right, Volkswagen, they hire computer science majors, programmers, software developers, electrical engineers, everybody, right? Civil engineers, nuclear engineers, right? It's not just a mechanical engineer's job anymore, right? Because the car has become very complex. Let me just check the numbers here. Okay, so just to guess, right? Fighter jet, right? A fighter jet has a computer. How many lines of code does it take to design a fighter plane, right? Fighter jet. Like 1 or 2 million lines of code, right? Take a guess how many lines of code to build a car now. Like in today's world. Just throw a number out there. Right? A fighter jet is 1 million or 2 million lines of code. Right? So now, like a typical car now, like maybe a Focus or a Camry or a Corolla, has 100 million lines of code, 100 to 200 billion lines of code, right? So maybe some of you have taken programming classes now, but that's becoming typical now, right? Especially with autonomous vehicles, like self-driving vehicles now, right? We have EVs, electrical vehicles, right? Now you need more lines of code, right? So it's becoming more of a programmer's job now, right? To build a car. So there's a lot of opportunity in infotainment, a lot of opportunity now in self-driving vehicles, in electrical vehicles, right? So it's very exciting field, right? That's why I decided to stay in that position. Okay, so the first 2 assignments were more technical, right? But then my last assignment at GM was more of a project management. So some of you down the road, you guys may realize, oh, maybe technical engineer is not for me. Maybe I want to become a manager or something, or I want to become a project manager, product manager, right? So you want to go into management. So this was the kind of job that I had to do. So this one may sound a little bit boring, right? But this is the picture on the left. That's the vehicle development program. Yeah, that's right. The vehicle development program. So it goes from just creating the idea of a car all the way up to production, right? So you go all the way to production. So as a lead system validation engineer, like I have to understand how the heck do we develop vehicles, right? And this process here, from left to right, can take 3 to 4 years, 5 years, right? But I think a lot of these OEMs, like these car manufacturers, I think they're trying to shorten the product development now. So maybe you'll see a new car every 2 years now, or every 3 years. Right? But typically it takes 4 years just to come up with an idea for a car to get it into production. Right? And the cool thing about this is, once you start selling the car, once the cars go to dealerships, your job is not done yet. Right? There's post-production, right? You're going to get warranty problems, right? People are going to complain about their cars, right? There's going to be recalls, right? Maintenance. So there's people that take care of that too. So your job is not just, for an automotive company, it's not just because they started selling a car doesn't mean their job is over, right? They still gotta take care of cars, even cars that came out 5 years ago, right? Cars that came out 6 years ago. They still need to take care of those customers, right? Especially warranty claims. This one over here on the right, we call this one the Systems B. Systems B. So if you go into systems engineering, like systems engineering is starting to become big. What it is you basically design from the top, right? You design, what's on the very top here? Okay. On the very top here is your specification, or the customer, what the customer wants, the voice of the customer. Because ultimately, the voice of the customer is what you follow, right? So at the very top, you have the voice of the customer, and then it flows down to what are my system requirements to satisfy the voice of the customer, right? So you start from the very top, voice of the customer, down to a system level requirements, and then you need subsystem requirements that say, okay, so these subsystem requirements satisfy the system level requirements. System level requirements satisfy the voice of the customer. And down here, you have component level requirements that satisfy the subsystem, right? So it's like it flows down. So from system requirements to subsystem requirements, component requirements down to subcomponent. And you can go as small as you want, right? I can go to subparts, subcomponents, right? That's setting the requirements. And then on your way up is validation, right? You build your way up now, right? So meaning down here, okay, I have subsystem, I have sub-component requirements now. I need to validate that now, right? So, okay, I validate that this subpart works. Okay, now we can move a level up. Meaning, we validated all the subcomponents, we integrate them, and we get the component, right? So now you validate all the components, you integrate them all together, you get the subsystem, right? So once you get to the subsystem, right, you validate all the subsystems, you integrate them, you get the system, right? So now you're at system level again, right? You want to validate the system now on the system level, right? And once that's validated, you've made the customer happy, right? So you guys see how it flows, right? So these are the requirements. It flows down from the very high level, very big thing, down to the very, very, very small detail, right? It could be like, you need to use this size of a nut for this part. It could be down to that requirement. Then your validation works its way up, right? And you have these arrows here, meaning like you learn from each other, right? Just because you have a B here doesn't mean nothing here changes. Nothing here changes, right? You have these arrows here, meaning maybe you learned something here. Let's go change a requirement or something, right? So it's systems B. If you guys go into systems engineering or you take a systems engineering class, you're going to hear this a lot. You're going to hear like different kinds of problem solving to project management. And this is where I learned it. This house here, right? This is my own version. I call this my own engineering house. So on the your foundation are the requirements, right? Like the requirements are specs. What do your customers want, right? And from there, okay, you need project management, right? Meaning like you have engineers. You have to handle engineers. You have to handle suppliers, right? And then that's project management. And there's also change management. Change management meaning, we found out during our development that we need to change the specification or we need to change the requirement, right? So you need a more formal way to deploy that. You can't just say, hey John, found out this requirement doesn't work, can you just change the word there? No, in the engineering world you have to be more formal, like you have to have a paper trail, like, you need to be able to document everything. And on top of that, problem resolution, meaning you'll come across problems every once in a while. You need to be able to manage those problems, right? So this is my engineering house. If you go into master's course, maybe in project management, you'll learn more different kinds of houses. You can look up house quality, right? There's all different kinds of ideas out there. So this is more of the project management role. And then, okay, so those are my assignments at GM. Then at some point, during that time, I was also completing my master's at U of M. One of the reasons why I decided to leave California for Michigan, like, who leaves California for Michigan, right? Like, who wants to be in snow? Like, it's snowing there right now. But one of the reasons why is during my talks with them at the career fair, GM said, hey, we have this master's program at GM. We can pay for your master's, right, for free. So I said, hey, free master's, I'll go for it, right? So that's one of the reasons why I said I'll go to Michigan. I wanted to get a master's, learn more about the industry. So GM calls it the TEP program, Technical Education Program. I think they still call it that, right? People can still go there. I still have friends who go through it. So that's how I finished my master's. Started in 2015 and finished in 2018. Took 30 units to complete. And the good thing is, especially now, a lot of these courses are online now. All right, so I don't need to be at campus physically. Because driving from where I work to campus takes an hour and a half. So I think that's the advantage that we have today as students is a lot of universities, a lot of colleges, they offer online classes now, right? But on top of that, there's online side, there's also courses offered in class, right? So if you're available, you could go to class like in person, right? So for me, I didn't really have the bandwidth to attend classes in person, so I took most of them online. Okay, so what I can share from the experience there, be prepared for interviews and practice. This is important, right? There's a lot of like really smart people. Like you can ask them anything, they have an answer for you, but they don't know how to talk. Like they don't know how to talk to people, right? So when they go to interviews, like they choke or they can't say the right words, right? And they don't get the job, right? So be prepared for interviews. Go to mock interviews, right? And talk to your friends, right? And be sure that you actually sell yourself. Be proud of what you do, right? Don't be shy. Start practicing. Learn real world know-how. So what that means is, I'm an engineer, but that doesn't mean I just know about physics. I just know about math. Like, you have to know like the real world too. Like you have to learn how to change a tire or something. Like you need to know how to sign up for insurance, right? You need to know how to get a loan, right? These are skills that you guys need to be able to succeed, right? Because we're not, like I said, we're not just students. We're also people. But what I put this point here because I'm noticing that there's a lot of like really smart engineers, right? But sometimes we don't have the street smart. You know what I mean? Like they're book smart, right? Like they can understand every concept out there, but they don't have the street smart to become successful, right? So if you want to move forward, if you want to get ahead of everybody, like you can beat them in being a book smart, right? Book smart person, but you can also beat them by being street smart. So that's point number 15. 16, apply the tools you learned in school to your job and life, right? So like I said, I'm doing it now. I took a speech class before. I'm using it now, right? So do the same with what you guys are doing right now at Kenyatta, right? Don't just attend classes for the purpose of getting units, right? Actually go there with a purpose. Try to learn what the class wants you to learn, right? Because you're gonna use it later on. Don't be afraid to try something completely new and different. This one, I put this here. Don't be afraid to try something completely new and different. It's different for everybody, right? But I think this is how you figure out your passion, right? Is if you try something new, right? So, very important point. Don't be afraid of responsibilities, but welcome them as opportunity to shine. Right? Some people, when they're given something, right, they either turn around, right, or not really, they just drop everything, right? But don't be afraid of responsibilities. Like think of it, hey, this is my moment to shine. Right? And this one is, I think, for me, I think number 19 as a professional, I think this is the most important point is it's not always about the pay, trust me, right? Especially here in the Bay Area, the pay can, the pay range can be really huge, right? So working is not always about the pay. It's actually the work that you do if you enjoy it, if you enjoy working with your boss, with your coworkers, right? And the work environment, right? This matters a lot, right? It's not just about the pay. I could be getting paid like 200,000 or 300,000, as a software developer somewhere, right? But if they work in like 14 hours a day, right? I'm not going to be happy, right? It's not always about the pay, and it's a lot of people in the beginning, like they get that wrong, like, hey, I need to get the highest paying job right away. But you got to think about like how stressful is the job, right? So you got to think about how stressful is the job, how's the work environment, is it toxic. If it's a toxic environment, then you gotta take that into account, right? Don't just go for it because oh, this one promised me $200,000. It's not gonna work. Maybe just the first couple months, right? You get the good pay, but eventually, like, you'll get tired of it. So think about that and find work-life balance and understand your limits, right? You know, don't, if you think you're, like, you keep pushing, but you're not getting anywhere, try an alternative. Like, try a different way to go about something, right? Don't just go about it one way, right? Think about maybe there's a plan B for me, maybe there's a plan C for me, right? So know and understand your limits is important. Okay, so we're getting close to the end here. What I do now, I moved back here. I'm a test engineer for Porsche. Right, so Volkswagen has, just like GM, they own different brands. Volkswagen has Porsche, Bentley, Volkswagen, Lamborghini, right? So they have a small office here in Belmont, and not a lot of people know about that because it's a small research center. They think I work for a dealership or something. I work for Volkswagen. Oh, really? You sell cars? No. So yeah, so I work there. I'm a lead for personalization and customization, meaning the profiles that you can create in the car now, right? You can create different profiles now. And outside of work, I like learning new programming languages and having small projects here and there. Like right now, like as we speak, I'm actually learning how to code Swift right now. I want to create my own apps, right? Create my own apps, build them, maybe post them on the Apple Store or something. So that I'm learning that on my own. And there's a lot of resources out there. There's YouTube resources and resources you find online. So I don't know. Just to wrap up, right? I'm not gonna make you remember all these, but hopefully I can share, some of this knowledge to you. You don't have to remember any of these, but I hope you picked up something from this conversation. And it's very nice to have you guys come here. And as a bonus, I brought this. This was my senior project at UC Berkeley. Right? This is the Iron Man helmet. I'm not gonna brag, but I will brag. Our video has 4 million views now on YouTube. So, but we don't get paid for it. I hate my friends. He used an audio that he wasn't supposed to use. So YouTube was like, oh, we can't pay you because you guys are using unauthorized audio. I was like, okay. So, all right. So hopefully this plays. It's about a minute. Sorry, I can't really run it right now because it does need a laptop to run. Right? I need the software for it. So you guys can have a look after this presentation. This is what it used to be. You guys can build this the cutout or this mold here. You can find online actually. I wish there was audio, but he's basically giving voice commands here. He's saying open helmet. He's saying turn on flashlight. So we have a flashlight here. So it's all through voice commands, right? And we learned this, over one semester. We didn't know how to do this, right? We built this in one semester. 4 months.
Turn on fan. Stand the whole time. Fan level 1. Turn off fan. Open helmet. Turn on flashlight. Turn off flashlight.
That's really nice.
Close home.
That's our professor, so he gave us an A+ for this project. So that's what matters, right? Getting the A+. So, all right, so I think we're almost done here. Awesome. So yeah. So contact information. If you need to reach out to me if you have any questions about this presentation, right? Or you want to learn about, what I do for work, or just any question, right? Any question through my engineering career, right? Or any advice that you guys may need, feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn or send me an email. I would prefer the LinkedIn messages, right, than the Volkswagen email, but either way is fine, right? We can connect through LinkedIn. You guys can create your profile there, and I'll help you guys build your own profile, right? So it's very important. Again, thanks for your time. Good luck on your academic and professional journey. So, questions? Thank you all. We have time for questions, or yeah, feel free. It's 6 p.m. right? We're all hungry. Yep.
But what's one thing you wish you did when you were able to do?
Something I wish I did and now that I can do. Probably join more clubs, I'd say. I mean, I did join the math club, the engineering club, right? But I think there are other clubs here that, that will give you a really good experience. It doesn't have to be in STEM, right? It could be outside of the STEM also, right? But I wish I took on more advantage of that, right? Then I would get to know more people, right? Get to connect with more people. So I wish I took more advantage of that. Think we're good? All right, thanks all. Appreciate your time.